I got. Hi guys, Taylor bought a clock and I don't like it. It's boring. So we're going to take it apart, put some lights in it and make it cool. Because if it's going up in my kitchen, I want a cool clock. So I've had an idea. We are going to make a Spider-Man clock using an old comic book, a Spider-Man figurine, some glue of various sorts, super glue, and then obviously we're going to put some lights in it. I've already wired these ones up and put some red and some blue bulbs on the same thing. This is going to be brilliant, almost as good as her face when she sees her nice new shiny kitchen clock. So let's get this taken apart. We're going to have a flick through the comic book and find some images that we really like, maybe that one, and yeah, let's get ourselves a cool clock made. Okay, so we're just taking the pins out the back of these, and then I realised I should probably do it on camera. 3 of them have come out so far. The final one just pops that out. We can gently, without dropping the glass, remove the clock piece. Being very careful not to scratch this glass. I have to get in there, the blade to get underneath. There we go. I'm trying not to get fingerprints or scratches on this. I'm going to put this somewhere safe for the time being, so we can come back to this. So we need, firstly, to mark on the plastic on the inside of these where each second hand will be, where each hour will be, so that I can remove the plastic piece. So I'm just going to go around with this white pen on each hour. There we go. Marking each one of those. And we're going to remove this. Now, it's probably glued down, and you don't want to rip it because it's the perfect stencil for the shape for you to transfer your images back in. If you try cutting a piece just like this, it's going to be a pain. Oh, I should probably remove the hands first. To remove the hands on the clock, just gently give it a little pull. Put that somewhere safe. Remove each hand. Try not to bend them, because once you bend them, they are a pain to get straight again. Whereas if you can keep them nice and straight, otherwise they'll end up catching on each other as they go around, as I learned with a previous clock. Unwind this, like so. Being careful to put these little pieces safe, because if your workspace is anything like mine tends to be, 5 minutes later they will be lost if you don't put them somewhere safe. There we are. Gently take all the mechanism out, and then we can remove this piece of card. Just go around, popping that glue. Oh, torn it a little bit, so that'll be fine. There we go. You'll be left with that, and the white markings around, so that I know where to drill the holes to put these bulbs in shortly. But we shall come back to that in a little while. No, I've just made a speech about putting them somewhere safe. How about we actually do so? There we go. So we've gone into our comic book and found some bits that we like that try and hold out some of the story that's not true to what it says in the comic book, but that makes sense. Because I made a Batman one like this, and even though all the images were kind of cool, the narrative didn't follow, and it kind of got on my nerves. So I decided to go in. Have a look at this. It's kind of got a nice little look to it. Spidey having a little fight, talking about his Spidey senses. I love this image. Won't focus. Hopefully at some point we'll sort on a better camera so you guys will be able to see these things a little bit clearer. Back up there. There we go. So I've already cut out on this board underneath a circle of this for us to figure out where these need to be going. In fact, I did that off the plastic before and it was the wrong size. So if we actually see, that's the true circle that I need to be drawing. Grab a pencil. Around that. So I don't have to worry about that. I can just use this as a guide so I can see where things are going to be going. Okay, so we have our nice layout here, and it's all figured out. With using the lines underneath, I've got a rough idea as to where it's going to cut off, so we need to start transferring those over onto here. Just open up a fresh sheet of glue and patch this up a little bit. Because as I took this apart, I did tear it, so we'll just whack a little bit of glue on there. It'll be out of sight anyway. There we go. So if we take this little image and start working them in, so that's going to be, yeah, that's going to be nice there. So I'm going to use PVA, but you need to use just the tiniest little bit, because if you do use too much PVA, it has a nasty tendency to go all curly. Where's my brush gone? Take that glue, nice evenly spread. Find if you put the glue on the card as opposed to putting the glue on the paper, you're less likely to get it to curl. You can wipe away most of that excess. You've got a nice thin layer of glue. Go in that Spider-Man image, like so. Get a sponge or a piece of cloth, a rag, anything like that. Rather than using a tool that's liable to tear the paper, you just brush over it. Make sure there's no bubbles in there. If you rub up against where the edge is, the crease should show you a nice definitive line of where the edge is. Oh, see, that's what you don't want happening. There you go. Being careful not to glue the rest of it down to the board. And then come in with the next piece. That, strictly speaking, should have been underneath that. Jump in the gun, as usual. Get some more glue down. Okay. Again, you don't want any big globules of glue like this left on, because they'll make bubbles underneath, which lead to a pretty wonky shape. Then take most of that glue off and just leave it with a nice, just enough to stick it down. It is only paper after all, it's not going anywhere. Again, get all those horrible little air bubbles out of the picture whilst trying not to spread glue on it. There we go. Then we can come back in. Get a smidge more glue on the bottom and replace that spider web in there. Like it never happened. There we go. And then rinse and repeat until all the pieces are in place. So I'll carry on with that and we'll be back shortly. Okay guys, so we've got that all stuck down like so. And I'm going to go around ever so gently with a nice fresh-ish blade and just trim all that excess off, being careful not to cut into the cardboard. All the way around. There we are guys, so that's that cut out with a little hole in the middle as well. And you can come back in, making sure we've got this the right way up. Slot that perfectly into there. Yep, pretty happy with that. Oh, a couple more bits that need maybe a little bit more reinforcing. We'll get back into that. So the next job is going to be to go in on each of these white dots that you can see around the edge and drill a hole for each one of these. Which I'm going to have to find the drill now. Okay, so everything's glued down on there, and we've got these holes. Can't really see it all that well in that light. Drilled. Where are all the hour hands? Our markers, numbers, whatever you want to call it, will be. So I've then got these set of lights, which originally was a set of blue lights, but I've taken some red lights off a different set of lights that I have and spliced them together with a little bit of electrical tape, and they are far enough to reach to every other bulb. So if you do this right, every other bulb will be a different colour. And figure out where the battery pack is going to be going on the back. Now that's the hanging piece there, so that's the top. So I'm thinking maybe if we put the battery pack in there, it gets in the way of getting to this a little bit, but it'll keep it nice and evenly balanced. So a little bit of glue around the edge of that. If for whatever reason in the future I need to get into this, it's only a bit of super glue, so it could just pop open and pop off again. Get that glued down there. Is this that horrible plastic that doesn't like being glued? It's gonna be, isn't it? Because that's always my luck. So probably, if this glue doesn't work, my best bet's gonna be the old faithful hot glue. Doesn't look as pretty, but is generally a little bit more on the versatile side. We do lose a little bit of lighting this way because the lamp runs off the extension lead, but I can manage with that for the minute. So I'll let that hot glue gun heat up. And we can starting with the blue, that's the top, and start just popping these into the holes that we've already put into place. Like so. Be careful not to snap the bulbs like I've done in the past, because then you have to rewire a whole new thing. Easing them in there. And the holes aren't quite wide enough, just go in there with the screwdriver. And just gently use the correct tools, obviously, always, just to widen that hole up a little bit. There we go. Keep going round and round. Seems to have made a mistake. 1, 2, 4. Okay, so we're back. Long story short, when I initially thought of putting the lights in, I wasn't going to have them as the hour hands, and I just guided them off the rough distance and didn't count them, and then wondered why I had the wrong amount of bulbs then. So I've rewired up another set with 6 of each, and we're going to repeat the process we were doing just a moment ago. So, back in a minute. So, halfway through, we've got the red ones in, and we'll just move on to these blue ones now. Just too small. Almost there. Probably should have put the cardboard in first. Would have made sense, really, wouldn't it? Aye. Live and learn. Right, so can we get that under there? I'm sure we can. Let's go. That's starting to look like something. There we go. Looking something like that. Okay, apologies about the poor lighting again. So we're heating up the hot glue again. We've got all these bulbs in there where each hand wants to be, but obviously they're sticking too far through right now. So we're going to go around holding the bulb, so only the bulb. See this one here that's coming in and out, rather than it sticking out like this. I'm going to pull it so just the bulb is sticking out like so, and hot glue it from the outside so that it looks all tidier. Like so. Being careful because you don't want to damage your wiring with the hot glue. It's not to overuse it, just enough to reinforce. Like so. Hot glue gets quite messy as well, so careful of all your little stringy bits. If you glue anything to your paper, the paper's not going to appreciate that very much. On the back and the inside you can get away with a little bit more mess, but you want the front to be looking nice and tidy. Off camera again here, sorry, it's the wire on my glue gun a little bit short. So that comes off, and then just carry on working around to each bulb. Being careful not to burn yourself, as the clue is in the name, it's quite hot. So yeah, we'll just carry that all the way around. Right, so we've got all them bulbs all wired in all the way around the edge where all the arrows should be. I'm going to take the mechanism, which is already back in, and the little washers and everything that we took off and put safe. And we'll get those reattached, like so. Got the second hand, that's not a second hand, that's an hour hand. Put the hour hand back in place in a minute, and the second, come on, awkward. Like so. And that. It's dropped into there, like so. There we go. We're almost at completion. So the next thing we'll be doing is sitting Spider-Man up the top and putting the glass in, and then I think we're done. Okay, so we've got the glass all back in there, hands are all on, the lights are all in. All that's left to do is weather this guy and stick him on there. So we're going to get Spider-Man. If you have a look, where are we? You can't really focus on it, but you can't see any of the details in where his paint is, so we're going to go over him with some black acrylic, get it in the creases, and then wipe it away. Ta-da! That would have been a lot easier if I had magic blue Peter skills and just here's one I made earlier, but we got there in the end. So we've taken Spider-Man, we've taken some of the black acrylic from earlier, just gone over with a brush and gone in all the little creases, bring out all the details, and then wiped it all away with a cloth. And then all we need to do is put him in his little nice little position. I'm going to put him, I'll do it on camera, with one leg either side of the 12 o'clock light. Now, I don't want to use much glue here because if it drips, it's a pain to clean away. There you go. Like so. And then just wait for that to set. And we have ourselves a rather nice Spider-Man clock. Where are we at? I am fairly pleased with that. Take a look on Facebook at the Oddity Creation page. We will be getting the nicer camera and getting some beauty shots of these put up, because obviously with this webcam it's hard to get some really nice pictures. A bit more light. Spidey sat up top. There we go. This has been Oddity Creations, the first video of hopefully many more to come. Hope you guys like what you see. If you do, hit like, comment if you've got any more ideas, and with a bit of luck, subscribe.